Thank you very much for this opportunity. And before I start answering question number one, I do want to commend ACT members for wanting to hear more about for directly from the candidates. I know that a lot of people were missing this week at the meeting, and I do commend the members for doing their due diligence so that they can be able to make an informed decision, not only for the voting of the endorsement, but also on November 5th on the ballot. So I do commend you for your due diligence. So my name is Fabiola Calderon, and a little bit about myself. So I'll speak a little bit on my personal life and then on my involvement with public education. I am happily married. Last week we celebrated our 20th year anniversary. It is my second marriage. My first husband is deceased. We have with my new husband, my kids consider him their father. So together we do have three boys. Yesterday was my oldest son's birthday. He turned 29 and he just got married in February. So I'm hoping that they make us grandparents pretty soon. And then our middle child is 26 years old, and our youngest is 18. He just graduated Calexico High School, and now he's attending IVC, majoring in biology. I am a Calexico resident, obviously. And to speak a little bit about my role in public education, for a lot of years, I worked in the private sector until I got my foot in the door at Calexico Unified School District as an accounts payable clerk back in 2015. Originally, I had applied for the business manager position, and I was one of the top three scores from the test. As you know, it classified the merit system. You know, we had to go through the whole process, and I was granted an interview, and I was granted a second interview, but they went with I don't know if you remember her, a beautiful lady inside and out, Noreen McGillian. She was an Irish lady, and so she was given the opportunity to be business manager. But a few months later, the accounts payable clerk position opened up, and I said, you know, I really want to give this a shot. I really want to get my foot in the door. Mind you, I am not from the Valley. I am originally from LA, but I've been living here since 2009. I don't have any relatives in Calexico. I did not have any friends in Calexico. But for some reason, I wanted to work for Calexico Unified. So I applied for the accounts payable and I got it. And soon after that, a year and a couple of months later, I was promoted to executive assistant there at the business. So all my roles at the district have been in the business department. So I was promoted to executive assistant, where, my goodness, I began to learn so many different things. I began to grow in my area of expertise in my career. I started attending every single board meeting, and I would learn so much of the operations of the district. As you know, business oversees transportation, maintenance and operations, facilities, food services. I don't know if I mentioned it, and of course business. And then we work with all the sites and all the departments to make sure that everyone is in compliance with all the codes. So I began to learn very rapidly. And then soon after that, they gave me the opportunity to become accounting supervisor. And then that's when I worked with Mr. Guillen, with Mr. Jose Guillen. He was a personnel commissioner. There was some stumbling stones there for me to get the position of accounting supervisor. Unfortunately, the ugly politics of the district, that is just a big shame. But they did the right thing, and I got the position for accounting supervisor. And then I was promoted to business manager, which was also a very big hassle. A couple of times it being tabled in the employment report, but righteousness prevailed, and I got the position for business manager. And then in 2023, last year in May, I had to make a very difficult decision. It was a very difficult decision for me to make. It took months. It took months for me to decide to leave the district because despite of all the challenges that we endure as employees at the district, and despite the workloads, the very, very, very long hours of work, it was a very difficult decision because I love the district. I love my coworkers and everybody that I was working with. But I did make the decision to leave to Imperial County Office of Education, and I'm going to tell you that the factor that made me make the decision to leave to ICOE was the thought of that opening up an opportunity for me to run as board member. And I said, okay, well, I can run for board member. And if I'm elected, then I really didn't leave Calexico, right? I'll still be there and I'll be serving there. And so that was the factor that made me decide to go to ICOE. And that's where I'm at. And I have the full support of my employers, of executive cabinet there at ICOE. They were very pleased when I let them know several months ago that I had made the decision to run, that I was going to run for board. They were very pleased with that. They're very supportive and they're very happy to get a good candidate there. So the three priorities. So there's a lot of priorities on that list, right? But I am going to share the ones that, based on my audience, which is ACT, the ones that concern this group of people. The first one will be to address declining enrollment. Declining enrollment is not good. It calls for layoffs, and depending on how drastic the declining enrollment is, it calls for closure of schools, and it's just not good. It's not good for a school district. It's not good for the local community, for the city. It's not good for families. So I do have in mind a plan of action to address declining enrollment. We know, we hear it all the time. We hear it every time CBOs go up to the podium to present their budgets. The reasons behind declining enrollment. Families are having less kids, some even no kids. I just got a text message right now from my son who got married that they adopted a cat. I don't want cats, I want grandbabies. So families are just, they're waiting, or they're not having kids, or they're having very little kids. And then you have the families that are moving out of state because it's tough. It's tough living here in California. But we shouldn't just sit there and do nothing about it. I believe there are options. I believe there are ways to delay the declining enrollment so that it doesn't happen so quickly, so fast. And I have some ideas in mind that I don't want to go too much into detail right now, but that it goes hand in hand with developer fee rates, that it goes hand in hand with working very closely with the city of Calexico, because our city has to grow. We need to bring new families to Calexico. Families have children that we want to serve in their public education, create more jobs, and it's just a trickle effect, and you can't go wrong with growth. So declining enrollment is something that I definitely want to tackle. Another priority is communication and trust. It's very apparent that it's still going on. I witnessed it myself when I was there, and talking to so many people, during my campaign time here these last few weeks that I started. I've been able to attend to different events, to different meetings, and meet with different groups of people in the community of the city and community of the district. And I see that things have not improved. Things have not changed for the betterment. And communication is still an issue. And I am a big advocate and an advocate for expressing how important good communication is. When there isn't good communication, the consequences are chaotic. The consequences are damaging, and I can see it. There's no trust. There's a lack of trust in so many different aspects of the district, and it's because of the lack of communication. So that's definitely something that I want to tackle. I believe that it starts from the top. I think that we have to cultivate a culture of communication. I am not in favor of sole decision making. I don't believe that one person has all the context, one person has all the solutions. I don't believe that one person possesses all of the ideas that exist. I don't believe that one person is able to observe everything. It takes a village. It takes the whole district. It takes everyone's feedback. It takes lots of conversations. It takes lots of meetings. It takes a lot of listening, not only speaking, but also a lot of listening, so that we can have the entire picture, grasp the entire idea, and together brainstorm and together come up with solutions, come up with ideas. What one doesn't see, the other sees. The Bible says it, two is better than one. So I am not in favor of sole decision making and communication, so that we can build trust, so that the culture, the environment can be a good one at Calexico. And then the third priority that I want to share with the audience, which is ACT, is working to make CUSD an ideal employer. CUSD is a huge employer, and we should be able to offer and provide everything that is needed to attract the best of the best, not only of Calexico, but the entire county. We should be able to offer for people who even live in Westmoreland, people who live in Brawley, people who live in Imperial, to wanna be able to make that commute, to be able to make that drive to Calexico to work for Calexico Unified School District. And for that, we need to look at compensation. We need to look at benefits. We need to look at workloads. We need to look at the environment, the community, the culture that we offer. So, it was a very difficult decision for me to leave, but I think that was only because I'm a professional of vocation. I get passionate. I love the district, and it didn't matter the 12-hour, 15-hour days, the workload that's on our desk, right? We don't look at that, because what we do it because we love to do it, because we want to do it, because we're passionate about it. But I can tell you that there is so much more room for improvement to ensure that Calexico Unified is an ideal employer. We should be able not only to attract the best of the best, but retain the best of the best, not just for teachers to come to Calexico to get started straight out of college, and then, gain their experience and build up the resume, only for them to leave. We're going to talk a little bit later on about the salaries. So I'll go more in depth in that subject, but we should be able to attract and retain. We should be able to train up from our own, and train them up to be our leaders, provide that professional development, and train up our leaders. Nobody wants to work in leadership. And I have an idea why. I know why. I always had second thoughts when I would see an opportunity for me to keep growing. It was a little scary because of the culture, because of the environment. So we need to train up our own people and turn them into Calexico Unified School District leaders. So that's my answer to question number one. I'm going to say wholeheartedly that I strongly believe that Calexico Unified School District should be the leader employer in the city of Calexico, should be one of the leader employers in the entire county, and we should be able to surpass the salaries compared to the other school districts. And I made a little list here as to why. Number one, we are the largest school district in the Valley. And that's what's always said, right? We are the largest school district in the Valley. we should have good compensation. We should be able to offer good compensation. Also, we have the wealthiest budget in the Valley compared to other school districts. We have the healthiest budget in the Valley. Let that sink in. We also have the most diverse student population in the Valley. We have migrant students, we have foster, we have homeless, we have English learners, we have low income, poverty level students. We're border town. So the services that you, ACT members, that you, teachers, counselors, that you provide in the classroom does not compare to the services that teachers in Imperial, in El Centro, in McCabe, your days differ. They're day and night because of the diverse population of our students, and that should equal to a higher compensation. um, I'm not saying that it's easier to be a teacher in Imperial and McCabe and El Centro and Brawley. I'm not saying that, but it takes more. If a teacher is going to be successful in Calexico, it's going to take more because of the diverse population of our students. So no, I don't believe it should be less. I don't believe it should be equal. I believe that it should be the highest paying school district in the Valley. And I do believe wholeheartedly that the district should invest highly in their people. I do believe that the vast majority of our budget, of our monies, should go into our people, into salaries, into their benefits. We were talking earlier, I was talking earlier about attracting the best of the best, retaining. I am in favor of the seniority stipends to keep those good employees for years and years to come at our districts. And you know what? It's proven, and it was proven from decades ago when studies were made and continue to be made. Well compensated employees are so much more productive. They're so much more happier. They want to get up every morning and be happy to go to their place of work. And at the end of the day, the only ones that benefit from that, or the ones that benefit the most from that at the end of the day, is our students. And as a trickle effect, their families. And as a trickle effect, our community. And so I think we have all of the reasons to justify why Calexico should be the highest paying employer in the Valley compared to other school districts. And I say that wholeheartedly. So again, right, I come from the business department where, we're constantly looking at CSBA to look at the updates on the policies that would pertain to all of the departments that business would foresee, which was a vast majority. So I do have a lot of knowledge on policies. I know that we have, we adopt board policies, but we're subject to different agencies, right? We're subject to CSBA, we're subject to California Ed Code, to government code, we're subject to the bargaining contracts, but policies should be designed for the benefit of the greater good. Policies, board policies are designed to benefit staff, to benefit students, to establish good processes. And I think, it's going back to the communication a priority that I want to tackle if I'm elected board member. Board policies should not be written out, should not be implemented, should not be revised solo. Just one person. We need feedback. We need to sit down. And maybe I'm going to say a little bit too much, but at where I work at now, we meet every so often with the bargaining units to go over any of changes that we're going to make to superintendent policies. Over there, the majority are superintendent policies because it's an elected official. Most of them are not board policies. But, before we adopt them, before we have our superintendent sign them and make them official, there's communication going on. There's conversations going on. There's feedback that's collected. before we call a policy complete before it's adopted, before it's signed. So yes, we are subject to different agencies, but at the end of the day, it has to be for the greater good. They have to be designed, they have to be written out to benefit employees, to benefit the students. And so it's a team effort. It's a team effort, and I think I would be able to serve in a good capacity because of the experience that I have in that area. And well, the budgets. Um, I think it's very important, and we haven't had one in a while. The last time we had a board member that his area of expertise was budgets was Mr. Richard Romero. I think it's very important that there's at least one board member. I think all board members should understand the basics of the budget. I think that every single board member, and not only the board members, I think all employees should understand the basics of the budget. I think everybody should understand where our revenues come from the different sources. I think everybody should understand how monies are being spent, where they're going, and how we're obligated to spend, and what we can do freely in a community decision making. But as far as expertise and really understanding in depth how the budgets work, I think at least one board member needs to be an expert in that. And I think it's very important for that person to have integrity. I think that board member who's going to be the expert in budgets has to be transparent. I think that board member has to have excellent communication skills and has to be trustworthy. Why? Because the rest of the board members and everybody else, but speaking in the group of the board, the rest of the board members should be able to rest and be rest assured that that one expert in budgets did its due diligence, reviewed the budget, because remember, who approves a budget? The board. The CBO, the superintendent, they're just making a recommendation. The CBO developed the budget and is making a recommendation to the board to approve as presented. But is there due diligence going on? Are we sitting down? Is there a board member sitting down with the CBO prior to calling it's complete? This is what we're going to recommend to the board. And the rest of the board members should be able to rest assured that say me, for example, if I was to be elected, they should be able to rest assured that I did my due diligence, that I reviewed it, and to be able to communicate with them, not the 200-page report, but the highlights and what's concerning and what we should be proud of, and just any highlights, to be able to communicate that before making that important decision of adopting a budget, of approving a budget. So that board member, that's going to be the expert in budgets, integrity, transparency, good communication skills, and just a trustworthy individual. So I think I have a lot to bring to the table in regards to experience with policies and budgets. Yes. Okay, so I want to cover two bases in my closing statement. One, I want to share with you why I'm running for board, and also what my leadership style is. I'm running for board because, despite the challenges, I love the district, and I am very, very grateful to the district for the different people who are there now, who are not there anymore, that believed in me, that put their trust in me, that saw potential in me, and allowed me to grow. I am forever, forever going to be grateful to Calexico Unified School District, whether I am elected or not. I am always going to love Calexico, and I'm always going to help in any capacity that I am able to. And the reason why I'm running for board is because I want to give back to Calexico Unified a little bit of the so much that it has given me. The district has blessed me so much with so many opportunities for growth, as a professional, as a person, in my character. And I just want to give back a little bit of what it's given me. And my leadership style, if I'm given the opportunity by the voters, to come in and serve as a board member, I'm a servant. I am not interested in the position to be served. I am not interested in the position for any favors. I am not interested in the economic. Um, I am very blessed with a very good, stable job with a wonderful compensation package with good benefits. That I am not interested in that. My only interest is to serve, and that is my leadership style. And I think it's very important that at the top, we have that mentality that we are there to serve. We are servant leaders. And when that happens at the very top, it's inevitable. It runs down. It runs down to everybody else. And when we go to work, we go to serve, not to be served. And that's what I want to close with. And again, wholeheartedly.